Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Over 3 months ago, on the 20th of July 2017, my zakah1 YouTube account was banned. And this is my first new video since. And on this video, I want to explain why they did this. And on my next video, I will inshallah show you the extreme level of hypocrisy and double standards from YouTube and prove that their so-called guidelines and rules are just as fake as their rating system, and that they don't even follow their own rules. But firstly, for those who are surprised that they banned me, remember that I made several videos right before I was banned from YouTube, and on those videos I actually said that the Taoist Freemasons or Knights of Malta have formed a closer alliance with the Zionists. And on one of my last videos I even said that they are merging together and they have agreed on what lies to tell to the public. You see, because television is controlled by Zionists, and by Zionists I mean both the Satanist Zionists and the Jewish Zionists. The Taoists, however, were losing power and they wanted to compete against the Zionists, and they are the ones behind much of the internet in general and YouTube in particular. The main difference between the Zionist Freemasons and the Taoist Freemasons is that the Zionists want to censor everyone and imprison anyone who goes against their plans, or torture them or even kill them. And they want to completely ban freedom of speech. It doesn't matter if the government that they control claims to be a dictatorship or a democracy or even a religious theocracy like Iran. They say they have one set of laws to the public, but the real laws that they actually follow and implement in these apparently different systems are actually the same. So even if they pretend to believe in democracy and freedom, they actually want to ban freedom of speech in the name of freedom. Like when they used to say we have to take away people's liberty for freedom, or take away people's freedom for liberty. I mean, they play with words, they're very Orwellian in that sense. In Iran and Saudi Arabia, you are just as likely to get arrested for genuinely practicing and believing in Islam as you are in America and Israel. In other words, in these so-called Islamic countries, you're obligated to follow the Zionist version of Islam. So you may think that everyone in Iran or Saudi Arabia is forced to follow Islamic law, but the so-called Islamic law that they have is completely fake. Likewise, in countries that claim to be all about liberty and freedom of speech and freedom of religion, the same thing applies. For example, you may think that you have the right to have whatever religion you want in America and in many Zionist-run countries. But in reality, if you practice any religion other than Satanism in its true form, you will definitely get arrested. So you're allowed to say that you're a Muslim or a Christian or any other religion, but you're only allowed to practice Freemasonry and their versions of other religions. And as I explained on my past videos, they control the so-called mosques and churches, but they build these fake mosques and churches so that you think they are allowing you to have any religion that you want, when in reality you can only choose between the ideologies that they control and they give you. So for example, you can bow down to a six-pointed star in a mosque, or in a church, or in a synagogue, or in a Hindu temple, but it's still the same six-pointed star you're worshipping, and you're following the same actors pretending to be Muslim scholars or pretending to be Christian priests. But it's the same people behind the scenes. They go to the same lodges, they go to the same satanic meetings when they aren't inside the mosque or the church. Likewise, when it comes to freedom of speech, the Zionists like to just arrest everyone who practices freedom of speech, and they just want to use the slogan of freedom whenever they want to bomb or invade other countries and say that there's something wrong with Iraq or Afghanistan, and so we're better because we have freedom. You see, and so whenever they want to encourage the people to support their governments and their military, they use slogans like freedom or freedom of religion or freedom of speech. But they themselves absolutely hate freedom of speech and freedom of religion. In fact, one of the biggest tricks that they have played on the Muslims is that they have convinced many of us into thinking that Islam is actually against freedom of religion and freedom of speech. And so we as Muslims must be happy about the police state system that is becoming more and more extreme in every country, especially since 9/11. However, the Quran actually says that there is no compulsion in religion, and it even challenges people to even create a better religion than Islam in Surah Al-Baqarah, in the 2nd chapter of the Quran. So in fact, Islam was originally revolting against the religious dictatorships of the Jews and the Catholics. But now they have twisted it around and they've turned it upside down using their fake Muslim scholars and their fake news on television. In fact, if you study the history of the Renaissance in Europe, you will see that it actually began from the Muslims of Spain and Morocco. And from there it spread among the Christians. And now these Zionists are getting rid of all the accomplishments of the Renaissance, using the excuse of fake terror attacks, and even using the fake Muslims, such as the Sufis in the West, to serve and support their police state, while at the same time those same Sufis play their part as terrorist actors on television. So whenever they need an actor to play the role of the terrorists, they may use these Sufis. But then the same Sufi goes and complains about extremism and terrorism and saying that we need to conform with the government. And then they use the excuse that, well, Islam tells us that we shouldn't have any freedom. Anyway, the main difference between the Taoist secure society and the Zionists is that the Taoists actually believe, or at least used to believe until recently, in freedom. This isn't due to them being benevolent in any way, rather it's because they believe in something called the collective subconscious. In fact, the Freemasons in general believe in this, and so do many other secret societies that are part of the Illuminati, including the Scientologists. What they all think is that they think that our thoughts create reality, and the more people think the same thought, the more that reality is strengthened and the more real it becomes. So for example, if we believe that all the Jews will go to heaven, then they really will go to heaven. You see, and that's why you're not allowed to say anything bad about the Jews. Because just saying bad, they think that just by saying bad things about them and thinking bad things about the Jews, then bad things will happen to the Jews. That's why they like you to say bad things about Muslims and Christians instead. And they made, I mean, you can speak, and it's one of the funny things, you can speak against, for example, Arabs. You know, if someone says something bad about Arabs, it's not considered to be racist. But if you say something bad about Jews, even though Judaism is a religion, but if you say something bad about Jews, they call you a racist, and depending on the situation, they may call you something else, because Jew, the word Jew, is sometimes used for a religion, and also for a race, and also for a culture. So now you get atheist Jews, or you get people from different races who believe in Judaism. But if you speak against the word Jew in any way, then you are considered to be all those things. You're a bigot, you're a racist, you're everything. You're everything bad, and you're calling for violence against a culture, against a group of people. So they try to make it seem like you're attacking a community as well. So Jew is a community, but Jew is also a race, and Jew is also a religion. So that's why they made people think that the word Jew is so sacred, and as soon as you say the word Jew and follow it up with anything negative, everything bad applies to you. You're basically the incarnation of everything evil if you just use the word Jew in a negative way. But if you say something about white people or Arabs, it doesn't count as being racist, even though that's actually very specific. That's actually very racist to say all white people or something, or say the Arabs. If you say the Arabs did this, it's okay. If you say the Europeans did this, it's okay. But if you say the Jews did this, racist, bigoted, you're attacking a community, you're attacking a culture. So you're attacking all of them, you see. And this is because they believe that when we say things and think things and believe things, it actually causes it to happen, you see. So you're not even allowed to think anything bad about Jews, for example. And for example, if we all believe that God blesses America, then they think that then God will really bless America, despite all the horrible, evil and immoral things going on in America, despite all the sins and all the violence. They believe that if you just believe that God blesses America, then God will bless America. And that's why they put it on the dollar, you see. So they actually think that they can even change the nature of God or the gods. In fact, they believe that many gods exist and that they came into existence due to collective agreement between groups of people, between different religions and cultures throughout history. So if enough people believe in a certain god, they believe that that god will actually then come into existence. And the more people believe in that god, the stronger he becomes. One way to recognize these Freemasons is that they often use the term realities in plural form rather than just one reality. They believe that many different realities exist at the same time. And in fact, the reason behind some of the rituals is that their secret societies want to create or maintain such so-called realities. But of course, the truth is that their leaders are Satanists who are simply brainwashing them into thinking that they are creating a reality, when all that's happening is that they are being brainwashed into thinking that their lies are real. In other words, the Satanists who control the Illuminati groups don't believe in this whole collective subconscious nonsense themselves. And this is why they don't follow their own rules. In fact, this is the main difference between the Illuminati Freemasons and the Taoist Freemasons. You see, the Taoist Freemasons actually believe in all this stuff. And the reason why they support freedom of speech is because they believe that if people are forced to accept the government propaganda out of fear and are imprisoned and silenced using threats, then they will continue believing what is in their minds and they simply won't express it in public. So the thought pattern will continue to exist. You see, so it doesn't accomplish their goal. The Taoists believe that this is a problem because then people will create alternative realities in their own minds in opposition to the Freemasons or the Freemason-run government. So they believe that instead they must give people some freedom to say what they want, but to then convince us that we are wrong. Now you understand the agenda behind YouTube. You see, this is why the comment sections on YouTube videos and many other websites that are similar to YouTube are controlled and are so fake. This is also why the rating system on YouTube is completely fake. In fact, you may remember that several years ago, when you used to rate a video, it would actually rate the video up. But now if you rate a video up and you go and use another computer, another internet connection, you see that the rating has remained the same. And no matter how many times you click on a video, the view count remains the same. It doesn't count your rating or your view count. You see, what they're trying to do with this fake rating system is that they are trying to convince you to make very specific types of videos by rating down videos that they don't like and by leaving a lot of negative troll comments on your video. So they want to encourage you to make certain types of video and discourage you from making videos that they don't like. You see, and by doing so, they seek to actually change your mind over time, rather than force you to you know, rather than force you to shut up, rather than forcing you by imprisoning you. They want to actually convince you that you're wrong.
Because I had no time to address you. Right, you is no one. Your channel was running at 5,000 subscribers. Mine was hitting at 14 to now it's hitting about 17. Growing every day, my channel. Your videos had more dislikes than likes. My channel was growing every day. You're not invisible now, are you? So address your point. If you got something to say, speak up now. Right? You've been chatting shit.
You might remember that I also showed how the news were constantly trying to prove me wrong when I said something about the Freemason agenda. In fact, I even made a video mocking the Taoist Freemasons for doing this.
Ha! See? You were wrong! This time an actual criminal was punished rather than a journalist or a civilian, so that you won't suspect that this was reverse psychology on our part. However, it doesn't matter, because this guy isn't really a pilot anyway. He's an actor, just like Bill Hicks.
However, as I said, the Zionists don't really believe in this whole collective subconscious nonsense, and so they keep trying to convince the Taoists to shut everyone up and just silence them physically rather than mentally. But of course, this only proves that they themselves don't believe in their own ideology, which is why the Zionists kept making excuses to get rid of freedom of speech and freedom of religion, especially using the excuse of 9/11 and terrorism and so on. So you see, this is why the Zionists need to stage fake terror attacks. It is to convince those Freemasons that they control that they need to limit people's freedom temporarily for the sake of public safety. But the funny thing is that the freedom never returns, and it only gets worse and worse every year. So even after the threat is removed, they don't give people back their freedom that they took away a few years ago. So even after they supposedly killed Osama bin Laden in 2011, nothing changed. They didn't get rid of the Patriot Act, even though they tried very hard to convince people that that everything's going to get better under Obama in 2008. But of course, anyone who looked into Obama's policies critically will find that he did exactly what George Bush did, and he just moved the agenda forward. And now Trump is doing exactly what Obama did. So you see, it's actually important for the Satanists to convince the lower level Freemasons and lower level members of other secret societies that they control that the elections are real, and they aren't just simply faking these events to deceive the public. They also do it to fool the lower level members of the secret societies, such as the Blue Lodge Freemasons. This is to excuse the contradiction between what they claim to believe about the collective subconscious and yet censoring people physically. The Taoist Freemasons, as I explained, want to control people mentally rather than physically, and they have been the main reason why the Illuminati plans have been slowed down, as those Freemasons who follow the Illuminati are seeing that the Taoists are more consistent in their ideology. So the Illuminati have to push their agenda forward very slowly, so that their followers won't notice their hypocrisy, especially the large number of people at the lowest levels within their secret societies, where they are similar to the Taoists, such as the average police officer, for example, and many people who just work for the governments, and many of the Blue Lodge Freemasons, and many ordinary people who just work for the government and they believe that they are working for democracy. or in the case of Iran, the average Shia who thinks that Iran and Israel are enemies. You see, they need to convince them that this is necessary. And in fact, when the Illuminati sometimes, when they try to go too far, the Taoists actually slow them down, as happened in the case of Boston. As I explained in 2013, the Boston attacks, the Illuminati had a certain set of plans for the Boston attacks. They were planning to blame it on this guy from Saudi Arabia, who was one of their own people. I mean, the whole thing was staged, but they were planning to blame it on a Saudi guy, but eventually they came to an agreement with the Taoists to blame it on a Chechen, and they completely changed the whole plan. The plan was originally to say that, you know, Obama allowed this Saudi guy to attack and so on, but they eventually reconsidered and went back to their plan A. But for a while they had plan B for Obama, and I explained all this in great detail on my past videos. I know they were removed from YouTube, but if those of you who have watched them, you know what I'm talking about. So many people within the secret societies actually believe in this collective subconscious nonsense, and it may surprise you that many so-called ordinary Shias actually believe this. I've actually personally heard Shias, you know, not Freemasons, but actually, Shia people expressing the same beliefs as the Freemasons and saying that reality is created by our minds. In fact, the Shia leaders in Iran preach that the word Al-Haq, which is one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, and which actually means truth, they say that it doesn't really mean truth, but that it means what we want to be the truth. In other words, they believe that they must lie about the truth and invent their own so-called truth, and that if they keep repeating their lies and enough people believe their lies, then that lie becomes Al-Haq. So in other words, these people literally worship lying. Their God isn't truth. Their God is a lie. When they say truth, they really mean lie. They mean a lie that they want to be true. So it's very interesting that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, often referred to Dajjal as Kadhab, which means the liar. He used to call Dajjal the liar. And we know that both the Shias and the Freemasons worship Dajjal, and they are awaiting the coming of Dajjal. And that's why they both use the one eye symbol. However, as I explained earlier, all this ideology is invented by the devils, by the shayateen, at the top of these secret societies and groups, in order to mind control their followers and make excuses for why they must lie to outsiders. And the rituals that the Freemasons perform actually makes them possessed by demons who brainwash them into thinking that they are living in a different reality. So both the Taoist Freemasons and the Zionist Freemasons are possessed by the devils. The difference, however, is that during the hours of the day when the Taoists aren't under possession, they are more consistent in their ideology, and although they too are deceived by Satan, they don't always do what Satan wants. And this especially became the case ever since the Zionists started removing all the Taoists from power, such as the King of Iran in 1979 and Saddam Hussein in 2003, and more recently Hosni Mubarak and Gaddafi. Although I must point out that Saddam Hussein created his own version of Freemasonry, which was simply based on Taoist Freemasonry.
الورد والريحان بل والكادي وأسير نحو الموت معتجلا.
دعا الداعي هلم إلى الجهاد، إلى العز المكين، إلى الرشاد. دعا الداعي فهيج في النفوس. دعا الداعي هلم إلى الجهاد إلى العز المكين.
You see, because as I explained on my past videos, the Taoists have a positive imbalance and a negative imbalance, and they believe that, you know, for example, Muslims and Christians and other religions, they have to play the role of the positive side or the negative side, which they consider to be states of imbalance, but they see themselves as being pacifists and beyond good and evil. But what Saddam Hussein was trying to do was that he was trying to say that no, Islam is that ideal state, that pacifist ideal state. So he was trying to make Islam into the ideal state of Freemasonry. So basically he was trying to combine Islam with Freemasonry. The same way that some, you know, foolish people try to combine Islam with democracy, or Saddam was actually trying to combine Islam with Freemasonry and with socialism. And this was also done by a Shia guy called Dr. Ali Shariati. He was a Shia Iranian, and he also tried to combine Islam with socialism, and he believed that Islam is compatible with socialism. So these are people who, you see, on the one hand you got King Abdullah of Jordan, who's pretending to be a Muslim, but is really a Taoist Freemason who doesn't believe in Islam at all. In fact, King Abdullah of Jordan is actually a transsexual. He's not really a man, he's a woman. He's a she. He's a he-she. He's half man, half woman. Miss Doubtfire. Yeah, he's actually like Miss Doubtfire, you know, but the other way around, reverse. And anyway, he's just pretending to be Muslim, whereas Saddam Hussein actually wanted, he actually believed that Islam is the true religion, but he wanted Islam to become merged with Freemasonry. In other words, he believed that Islam is his interpretation of Islam was compatible with Freemasonry and socialism. Okay, so he was a misguided person, but he wasn't pretending to be a Muslim, but he was following a false version of Islam. You understand the difference? For example, Khamenei is just pretending to be a Muslim. Okay, the leader of Iran, Khamenei, Hassan Rouhani, these people are just pretending to be Muslims. They're Satanists and Zionists who are pretending to be Muslims. Whereas Saddam Hussein had made up his own version of Islam, which was based on socialism. But still, the Taoists preferred Saddam Hussein over the Zionists because he actually had a lot in common with them, and they actually created ISIS in Iraq after Saddam was overthrown in order to use religious Muslims to fight against the occupiers. And in fact, Abu Hamza al-Muhajir, the Egyptian commander of ISIS, was supposed to have been in Hosni Mubarak's prison while he was fighting in Iraq. This indicates that the Taoist Hosni Mubarak of Egypt, the former president of Egypt, Hosni Mubarak, himself must have sent Abu Hamza al-Muhajir and many other Salafi prisoners of Egypt to Iraq himself. So the American military found out that many of these people who were bombing them in Iraq were actually working for Hosni Mubarak and Gaddafi and King Abdullah of Jordan, and that they were secretly helping the Ba'athists in Iraq, and had created an apparently religious Salafi group in order to cover up who they really were, and in order to use religious Salafis to fight for them. And when the American military found out about this, they decided to remove these Taoist dictators from power. And when all this was going on, there was some limited freedom on YouTube and on other such websites. However, whenever I used to make a video against Taoist Freemasonry or against Freemasonry in general, my videos used to get terrible ratings and distracting comments. They used to, write very nonsensical comments on my videos that had nothing to do with the video that they were commenting on, and they were trying to distract me from what I was talking about and discourage me from making more videos against Freemasonry. In fact, as I pointed out before, my analysis of the Rocky movies got terrible ratings both times I uploaded it, and only one comment was made on the video, and the only comment on it was someone insulting me. So it was obvious that they were not allowing any comments to appear on the video in order to discourage me from making such videos. Because on my analysis of the Rocky movies, I actually exposed Freemasonry in general, not just the Illuminati or Zionist Freemasonry, but I even exposed their entire Mithraic ideology, even the lower levels of Freemasonry. I exposed their entire ideology on that video. Similarly, I made a video about Final Fantasy VIII, but in the middle of it, I exposed the plans of the secret societies, and I exposed those parts of their ideology that all these secret societies have in common. And that video also got terrible ratings, and in fact, for a long time, one part of that video had 666 views, 666 views, and no matter how many times I would click on the video, the view count remained the same for a very long time. You see, the rating system on YouTube is completely fake, and the reason why they gave my video 666 views was to subliminally make my video seem satanic. In other words, because I was speaking against the fake scholars who are working for the Freemasons, they wanted to make it seem like I'm being satanic for being against their fake religious leaders. In other words, they were trying to make it seem like their religious leaders are real and I'm satanic for being against them. Because on that video, I mean, I was exposing the whole ideology. I was exposing all this fake extremism and, you know, forced marriage and arranged marriage and all that garbage. I was exposing the whole thing, and I was saying that these are the things that all the secret societies have in common. These are the things that they all want to attribute to us, to Muslims. And so they gave that video 666 views. And in fact, it's not just YouTube. If you go on Twitter, for example, there is a Nazi website, and that if you look at the ratings on that video, you also see 666, and it's been there for a long time. I mean, what are the chances? I mean, it's exactly 666, and it's just there it's been there for a very long time. Doesn't matter what you do, it just remains there for a very, very long time. Eventually, it might increase it because, you know, it will look really, really suspicious if it remains there for after, you know, 5 years. But they keep 666 there for the longest time. So, you know, your video may be going up. It may be like 400, 420, 530, 600. But when it reaches 666, it just remains there, because they want people to choose between Zionism and paganism. You see, the Nazis used to practice pagan rituals, and they had pagan symbols. And so they want to say that if you're against Zionism, then you're with paganism, then you're a Satanist. And, you know, the Zionists are the ones who are worshipping God. And so this suggests to me that Twitter is actually controlled by the Zionists, by the Illuminati. And YouTube at least used to be controlled by the Taoists, but as I said, I believe that the Taoists have merged with the Illuminati recently. And likewise, I also once saw a video of Osama bin Laden on YouTube which had 9 thumbs up and 11 thumbs down, and no matter what I did, the rating remained the same. Again, in order to subliminally associate 9/11 with Osama bin Laden. Also, on one of my last videos on YouTube, there was a troll comment of someone telling me that I should stop wearing colorful clothes and that instead I have to look more like ISIS. Now, this is very interesting because many people don't know that ISIS or ISIL or Daesh actually copied me. They were the ones who copied me. My hair and beard used to be very long before ISIS fighters started to have long beards and long hair. If you go and watch old videos of ISIS from 2009, for example, 2008, you will see that they actually had short beards and short hair. And sometimes, for example, they would have long hair with short beards, or long beards with short hair, and sometimes with short hair and short beards. So the point is that they looked very different from me. They all looked very different from me. If you look at their old videos, before my hair and beard grew long, they actually looked very different. However, my hair on my videos was long since my 2010 videos. If you go and watch my videos from 2010, you see that my hair started growing very long, and as well as my beard, of course. And just compare the picture of this recent video of ISIS in 2017 with my video from 2011. You see, I often get accused of looking like ISIS when in fact they are making themselves look like me. And interestingly, the more fake they become, the more they try to resemble me. For example, in 2012, I made a video in Farsi called پیام‌های شیطانی در فیلم‌های ایرانی. On that video, I exposed the TV and media of Iran and showed that I was basically showing to the Iranian people that, for example, in an Iranian movie that was made in 2007, they were trying to make it seem like the Mujahideen in Iraq murder not just in Iraq, but the Sunni Mujahideen in general murder civilians. When I made that video in 2012, a lot of Iranians who watched it were actually convinced by all the points I brought up, and no one accused me at that time of being a member of ISIS. Because remember, back then ISIS members used to look very different. Even their leaders, even their top leaders back then had very short beards and looked nothing like me. However, since 2015, I've constantly been accused of being with ISIS, and the arguments I made on those old videos no longer have as much effect on new viewers, because the people who are only watching, who only later started watching my videos after 2015, they assumed, as soon as they started watching my videos, they assumed that I was a member of ISIS, since ISIS members now look the way I did in 2011 and 2012. And for example, when I said that the Sunni resistance in Iraq don't kill innocent people, they say, ha! ISIS themselves admit that they kill civilians and they bomb people at random and they bomb, markets and so on. However, I always pointed out to people that I made these videos, right before they took down my channel from YouTube. I always pointed out to people who wrote these comments that started accusing me of being a member of ISIS. I always said that, look, I made these videos before all these, supposed ISIS bombings, before all these fake attacks that are blamed on ISIS. I actually made these videos before that. I used to tell them to look at the dates on my videos. Just look at the date that the video was uploaded, and I said, look, I uploaded this video in 2011 or 2012 or 2010. So this is nothing to do with the attack in Paris in 2015 or the attack in the Iranian parliament in 2017. Even if you think these fake attacks are real, it's got nothing to do with me. And it's got nothing to do with ISIS. ISIS didn't look like this back then. ISIS didn't have long hair and long beards the way I did at that time when I made these videos. However, now that my YouTube channel has been completely removed and all my videos have been taken down, this no longer works. I can no longer use this argument for many people. And even people who are re-uploading my videos on YouTube and other websites can no longer make the point to people that I actually made these videos before ISIS started taking responsibility for bombing and murdering civilians. You see, because you can no longer show them the dates that I uploaded these videos. Although I'm going to show some pictures that I took from my YouTube channel in the past. And, if in case you get into an argument with someone, just show them these pictures of my old channel. And prove to them that I actually uploaded these videos long before these fake stories that the media started reporting about ISIS, and ISIS themselves started taking responsibility for, all these, even if they're real, fake or real attacks, it doesn't matter. The point is, I made these videos before these fake terror attacks. In fact, back in 2007, even Abu Hamza al-Muhajir said that he's against killing civilians, and even said that they are protecting Christian civilians. You see, in 2007, ISIS actually said that they are protecting Christian civilians. But notice now that ISIS is becoming more and more fake, and their leadership has, is completely compromised, and they even claimed responsibility for the fake attack against the parliament building in Iran and several other fake attacks in Europe against civilians. They are also simultaneously trying to look more and more like me. So they are looking like me, but saying the opposite of what I said about the Ahl Sunnah and about the Mujahideen in my old videos. On those very same videos where I had very long hair with a black turban. And this is why they are mad at me for recently wearing different clothes from ISIS. You see, after ISIS started copying me, I started wearing very colorful clothes, and the problem is that ISIS can't copy me. You see, if I wear this type of clothes, it would be difficult for ISIS to copy me, because ISIS are trying to appear as the super villains. They're trying to appear as the bad guys, as the dark side of the Force, like in Star Wars, like Darth Vader, and like the bad guys in the Mortal Kombat movies and in the Lord of the Rings movies. They're trying to look like the bad guys, with wearing black robes, but if they now try to copy my appearance in my recent videos, it would get really confusing, you see. If they wear the clothes that I'm wearing and start saying that we drink blood and we eat people and so on, it's not gonna look very convincing. It's gonna look ridiculous. So that's why they keep leaving comments on my videos saying that I have to stop looking like this. And this was actually one of the last comments that was made on my YouTube channel just before my YouTube channel was taken down, when I refused to agree with these fake Muslims, with these munafiqeen, with these fake comments. When they failed to convince me to start looking more and more like ISIS, just a few days later, not even a few days later, I think the next day my YouTube channel was removed. Notice that although I used to look kind of similar to what ISIS looks like now, I didn't wear black clothes on any of my videos. I didn't wear a black shroud or anything on any of my videos. I never resembled the Shias and ISIS, except on one video where I was making fun of them, where I was wearing a Darth Vader mask, and obviously I was making fun of them. But if you watch my old videos in 2009, 2008, 2010, I never wore black clothes. But I did wear a black turban, but I didn't wear a black clothes or a black shroud or anything like that. So I never actually wore these clothes. But you see, in Hollywood movies, the bad guys, if you watch the movies from the 1990s especially, and the early 2000s, in many movies, the bad guys were often shown as like masked ninjas. Masked ninjas wearing all black, such as Shah Khan's soldiers in Mortal Kombat, and all the examples that I gave earlier. The Shias actually made themselves look like the bad guys in Hollywood movies all throughout the 1980s and 1990s, because, as I explained before, they were playing the role of the bad guys. They were deliberately playing the role of the bad guys, and I explained about this on my video series, The Soothsayer's Conspiracy. However, after the real Mujahideen appeared and some Sunnis like me started exposing how fake the Shias are, they are now trying to make us look like the bad guys in their movies. So now they're trying to make the Sunnis look like the bad guys, you see? So although I didn't wear all black on my old videos, I did wear a black turban, which is actually part of the Sunnah. But the trick they are using is that ISIS are making themselves look like the super villains, look like the bad guys, look like the villains in movies, by wearing all black, just like the Shias did in the 1980s and 1990s, and saying that they like to drink blood. But then at the same time, some of them make themselves look like me, so that in this way my appearance would be subliminally associated with the villains or the dark side of the Force in their Freemasonic propaganda. So ISIS makes one video where they look like the Shia militias and the bad guys in the movies, and then they make another video where they look like me. However, the Taoist Freemasons get really mad when I wear colorful clothes, and especially since when I wear colorful clothes, I don't do it to promote liberalism or homosexuality or the gay rainbow. Actually, in fact, many people don't know that the rainbow was actually originally the symbol of Islam. It's actually mentioned in the hadith. Okay, the symbol that the Muslims actually should use is the rainbow, that the Satanists try to associate with homosexuality and with liberalism. So you see, I'm going against their so-called realities or mind control propaganda. You see, in their plans, I'm either supposed to be with the fake dark side or the fake light side, or I must join the transsexual Freemasons themselves, who believe that they are beyond good and evil. On my recent videos, I completely ruined their plans and even exposed them directly, which is obviously why they banned me from YouTube. Also remember that I exposed a guy called Time Man, and I said that this guy never mentioned me or my videos, but even though he never mentions me, he keeps copying my videos, but he adds in his own Shia propaganda. Well, again, this is because these people are obsessed with proving me wrong. Right after my zakah1 YouTube channel was banned, this guy made a video where he actually mentioned zakah1 for the very first time. Notice that he had never mentioned me even once, even though I had been uploading videos on YouTube for 9 years. But as soon as the zakah1 YouTube channel was removed, he made a video mentioning zakah1 in order to make people think that I was wrong when I said that these shields never mentioned me. So 2 days after I was banned from YouTube, the zakah1 channel was completely made invisible, completely disappeared from YouTube. 2 days after, he actually mentioned my zakah1 username for the very first time ever. And he claims that it's a coincidence. Obviously he did it on purpose. But of course it's obvious that he did this now because now people can no longer go on the zakah1 YouTube channel. So it's no longer possible for people to view my channel on YouTube. So it no longer matters if people hear about the username zakah1, since they can't go on it. That's why this guy all of a sudden mentioned me just 2 days after my zakah1 channel was removed. So it's very clear that he did this on purpose in order to convince people that I was wrong when I said that these people never mention real researchers, when I said that this guy never mentions me. So it's trying to say that, see, I mentioned him. He said I never mentioned him, but I mentioned him. But he mentioned me 2 days after my YouTube channel was removed. And it's also interesting that on the same video, he accused me of being a member of ISIS. So he directly, not just subliminally, but directly associated me with ISIS, so that people who like my videos would think that I have joined ISIS, and that's why my channel was removed. And also to give an excuse to those who are against my videos, so that they would have an excuse, so they can say that this guy joined ISIS, that's why we're against it.
Yo, this message goes out to zakah1 and to all his followers. Fucking terrorist, you son of a bitch. You know, all zakah1 followers, you're talking about me, yeah? You ugly, dirty terrorist.
What's really amazing is that just a month after, ISIS released a video of a guy who looks almost exactly like I did in 2011 and 2012, with the same beard and hairstyle and turban. And interestingly, even though YouTube has removed my channel as well as several other channels that were uploading my videos, they kept this video on YouTube since 2012 and they still haven't removed it. Why haven't they removed this video? Of course, because this is how they wanted me to look like. You see, this is who they accept me to be within their so-called reality. They think that they can compromise with Allah and the believers on the nature of reality. This is also why in recent years the media has been constantly talking about ISIS directly and bringing so much attention to them. Many people don't know that ISIS or ISIL or Dawla, the Dawlat al-Islam as they call themselves, has existed since 2007. But because the media has been focusing on them since 2014, a lot of people think that this is actually a new group that has recently appeared. In fact, there were and probably still are many Sunni resistance groups in Iraq fighting against America and the Shias. But the news and the alternative media both completely ignore most of those groups. For example, there's a group called Jaish al-Rashidin who were completely ignored, even though they were a major resistance group in Iraq, and even released some of their videos in English in order to reach, the Americans and Europeans. Yet they were completely ignored because they didn't say anything extreme on their videos, and they didn't even support suicide bombing. Not even suicide bombing against the military. They never carried out any suicide bombing attacks. So the media couldn't use them as part of their anti-Muslim propaganda. But notice that the more fake ISIS becomes, the more the media mentions them. And in the past, they were trying to make them look like a fake group, but the more fake they become, the more the media tries to make them look like a real group. And the more ridiculous their ideology becomes, the more similar they become to the fatwas of Khomeini and Khamenei. If you compare many of the things that ISIS are saying now, it's the same as what the fake Al-Qaeda said. If you watch my old videos, like refuting Al-Qaeda and the stuff about Al-Qaeda and the Shias and how they're so similar in their ideology and how they both support, killing civilians, even though it's actually forbidden in Sunni Islam. If you listen to all my old videos from 2008 and so on, you see that the same applies to the recent ISIS videos. They're actually saying the same exact things as the fake Al-Qaeda. And remember, the fake Al-Qaeda were saying the same things as the Shias since the Shias from the 1980s and the 1990s. So the more fake they become, the more the media tries to actually promote them and portray them as being an independent group.
The Islamic State remains alone in the face of US, Russian and Iranian projects. The Islamic State remains alone in the face of US, Russian and Iranian projects. The Islamic State remains alone in the face of US, Russian and Iranian projects.
It's also interesting that Khamenei, the leader of Iran, also said recently that ISIS is a real group. This is amazing because for years they kept saying that all Sunni Mujahideen are fake, especially Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. Yet even though ISIS actually came out of Zarqawi's group, they actually originated from Zarqawi's group, which was called Tawhid wal Jihad, and then it became Majlis Shura al-Mujahideen, and then ISIS, the people who took over the group after Zarqawi, they formed ISIS in 2007. So even though ISIS originates from Zarqawi's group, they are saying that ISIS are a real group. Why? Because ISIS has made peace with Iran and the Shias of Lebanon, and they are instead attacking the Taliban, and they have even cooperated with Iran by taking responsibility for the fake attack in Iran against the Iranian parliament. So you see, the more fake they become, the more the Zionists and the Shias are saying that ISIS is a real group. Remember that I myself actually made a few videos about ISIS a few years ago, where I said that they are a real group, and I actually refuted the people who were saying that they are a fake group, that they are Zionists or that they are Shias or whatever. I actually refuted them a few years ago. But now ISIS really have joined the Shias and the Zionists, and that's why remember they promised to attack Israel, but they never did it, and their attack against Iran was fake. So now that they're becoming fake, we're being told that they're real. And remember how often you used to hear that ISIS is fake, ISIS is CIA, ISIS is Zionist, ISIS is Shia. On the Saudi channels they were saying ISIS is Shia. Remember how often we used to hear that in 2014 and 2013? But now all of a sudden they're saying that they're real. Interestingly, the excuse that ISIS used for attacking the Sunni Taliban in Afghanistan was that they accused the Taliban of supposedly wanting to make a peace deal with America, and they claimed that this makes the Taliban kafir or apostates. But firstly, the Taliban haven't actually made peace with America. And secondly, making peace doesn't make you a kafir. It's making alliances with the kuffar that makes you a kafir. But making peace with the kuffar doesn't make you a kafir. And thirdly, Baghdadi himself, the leader of ISIS, he actually called for a peace agreement with America in 2007. And I still have the audio message of Baghdadi. In 2007, he actually released an audio message saying that he wants to make peace with America. But most importantly, ISIS have now officially made peace with the Hezbollah Dajjal and with the Lebanese army, which they themselves say are kafir, and I agree with them, they are kafir. So they have made peace with the kuffar, just as they accused the Taliban of supposedly wanting to do. And they also condemned the Taliban for not killing Shia civilians. Yet they themselves have made peace with the Shia military. So even according to the ridiculously extreme ideology of ISIS, they themselves are now kafir. They are now kafir according to their own ideology. So from now on they should be called Dawlatul Murtaddin. They shouldn't be called Dawlatul Islam, they should be called Dawlatul Murtaddin. Interestingly, the Nusra Front, the fake Al-Qaeda, which is a group that I've been exposing for years, also released videos of people wearing clothes similar to me. I showed this video before on my YouTube channel. This is a group that has joined the Nusra Front, and you can see him wearing a green hat tied by a red something that looks like a turban, and this looks just like the way I did during that same time period. And this was a very unique way. I was actually wearing a very unique type of hat and turban. So it's really interesting that this guy looks like me, even though he has this group that you're seeing, they've joined the Nusra Front. And even though on this video they are saying that people must come to Syria for jihad, even though I said the opposite. I said that don't go to Syria for jihad, because in Syria they want the Sunnis to kill each other. So they're saying the opposite things to me. They're actually doing and saying the opposite thing. Remember that on the video that on one of the videos where I was wearing a green hat and a red turban, I actually exposed the Nusra Front. Yet they're wearing similar. This guy's wearing a similar hat and turban to me, and yet he's doing the exact opposite. He's telling people to come to Syria, and they are joining the Nusra Front. So it's the opposite. So their actions are the opposite, but their appearance is becoming more similar to me. So as I said, the more fake they become, the more they try to resemble me. As I said, this is to confuse the fitra. I explained about this on my past videos, on the Soothsayers conspiracy and many other videos. And so it's really amazing that they're saying one thing and they appearing in a different way, in the opposite way.
You know what? Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, so I thank you.
Also, if you remember, there was a guy called Pass on the Truth. There was a troll who used to keep, trolling my YouTube channel. And that guy made a video in 2013 where he accused me of having joined the Nusra Front. So just as now I'm being accused of joining ISIS, that guy, Pass on the Truth, accused me of joining the Nusra Front. And he showed a video where the Nusra Front had long hair and long beards, and he said, see, they look just like zakah1. But remember, I looked like that all the way back in 2010. And so, you see, I wasn't copying them. The Nusra Front was formed in 2012. So obviously I wasn't copying them. If anything, they copied me.
Identity theft is not a joke, Jim. Millions of families suffer every year.
In fact, the Nusra Front, which is controlled by the Zionist Illuminati and who defend Israel's borders just like the Shias do, and they refuse to attack Israel just like the Shia Hezbollah Dajjal, they have been copying me to a much larger extent than even ISIS. In fact, since this year's Eid, and remember my YouTube channel was removed shortly after Eid, and since Eid, the Nusra Front have been using the name zakah1 for themselves. I'm not joking, really. In fact, if you search zakah1 right now on Google or YouTube, their videos will actually show up. They will actually come up among the in the past, when you would search zakah1, you would get my videos. But now when you search zakah1, you may still get some people who have uploaded my videos on various channels, but you would also get the videos of the Nusra Front. Even though this is the group that I've been exposing as being completely satanic and crypto Shia, yet this group have started using the name zakah1 for themselves, which was my username on YouTube for the past 9 years, since January 2008. In fact, they aren't just calling themselves zakah1 on YouTube alone, but also on Facebook and several other websites. And their excuse is that their videos are about paying charity on Eid, which is one of the meanings of the word zakah. However, why did they add the number 1 at the end of the zakah, exactly like my username? So they are using my username in order to raise funds and make money for their Zionist organization. And my channel was removed at the same time as they started doing this, so that now if you search zakah1, you get their videos in your search results, asking you to pay them zakah, to pay them charity money, so that they can raise funds for their terrorist organization, so-called terrorist organization, which is really a Zionist organization. And remember that, let me tell you something, that the reason why my username was called zakah was because of the hadith that says that the zakah of knowledge, the charity of knowledge, is to share it. And I was sharing my knowledge on YouTube with as many people as possible, and that's why my username was zakah1. It had nothing to do with money. It had nothing to do with charity, with giving me money. It was to do with sharing knowledge. Zakat al-ilm, the zakah of knowledge, is to share it. Nashrahu. It's an actual hadith. It's an authentic hadith, and that's why I called myself zakah1. But not only that, this group, the Nusra Front, Jabhat al-Nusra, also changed their name to HTS right after I exposed them. Remember that on my video I always referred to them as the Nusra Front, or as the fake Al-Qaeda. So now they call themselves HTS, so that those who have watched my videos won't know that I was talking about the same group. But let me tell you that the HTS is officially the same group as the Nusra Front, and their leader is the same person, it's Jolani, the same Zionist Shia that I exposed on my past videos. Not only that, they have also started using a lot of different colors as their symbol in Syria, similar to what I did on my videos, including on the video where I was exposing them.
الفرق الثالث والأخير هو أن اللافتات الجهادية السوداء والملصقات تم استبدالها جزئياً بملصقات ملونة مثل هذه. مضمون الإعلانات هي نفسها تشجع على تطبيق الشريعة، لكن التصاميم أصبحت ملفتة بألوانها. الهدف من ذلك يبدو لجعل رسالتهم أكثر جاذبية للسكان المحليين. يجد مقاتلو النصرة الوقت للاستراحة وتناول الطعام مع بعضهم بعضا، كما تظهر هذه الصور من داخل إحدى المضافات.
نحن لدينا رجال شرابهم الدماء وطعامهم الجماجم وأنيسهم الأشلاء. الله أكبر والعزة لله.
الفرق الثالث والأخير هو أن اللافتات الجهادية السوداء والملصقات تم استبدالها جزئيا بملصقات ملونة مثل هذه. مضمون الإعلانات هي نفسها تشجع على تطبيق الشريعة، لكن التصاميم أصبحت ملفتة بألوانها.
They know that most people don't think, and they just rely on these so-called political experts who are really just a bunch of paid actors to supposedly inform them. They know that most people just turn on the TV and they sit back and they just want to be told the truth, and they don't want to search for the truth. They don't want to think, and they don't even want to look for someone else that might actually tell them the truth. They just want to relax and, lazily just change. And if they don't like what they're hearing, they just think that they can find the truth by changing the channel. They say, hey, I don't like this guy. Change channel. Oh, let me listen to this guy instead. I don't like Webster Tarpley. Oh, Imran Hussain. Oh, I don't like Imran Hussain. Oh, George Galloway. Most people just want to sit back and they think that by changing the channel they can find the truth. Oh, it's Ahmadinejad. Oh, it's Vladimir Putin. Oh, it's George Bush. Oh, it's Barack Obama. Oh, I don't like Obama. He's too liberal. Oh, George Bush, the Republican. I don't like him. He's a Republican. I want to find a Muslim. They think that the way to find the truth is by changing the channel, and instead of turning it off and actually either researching or communicating with real people, normal people who've actually analyzed these things, who are not paid agents, who are not part of the structure. Because I know they try to give you this illusion that by changing the channel you're getting different information. But you have to understand that all these different channels are controlled. The entire TV is controlled. Just because they show you this logo of ABC News doesn't mean that it's different from some other organization with a different logo. Okay, they try to give you this illusion. By giving you these logos, they try to give you this illusion that they're different. So they give you RT, and now it's ABC News, and now it's Fox News. See, it's a different logo, so it has to be different, right? But they're actually all run by Zionists, and you can tell by the narrative. They all have the same narrative, and they even all report on the same stories at the same time. They supposedly send their reporters to the same countries on the same days, at the same time. And out of all the countries in the world, they expect us to think that nothing is happening anywhere today. Today, nothing is happening anywhere. It's only happening in Ukraine. And tomorrow, nothing is happening in the world. It's only Syria.
All these things wielded by a corporate power structure that wants you to see a perspective of the world that doesn't change no matter what channel you're flipping to. So that even though you change from MSNBC to Fox to CNN, and the guy or the woman talking is slightly different in their perspective, and they might have a different angle on it, ultimately they only discuss the same things every day. How is that possible? Is there nothing else happening in the world that we have to be touting the same stories for hours and hours until you're so brain dead and your head is beaten in by the stories that they're telling you that you have to believe?
So not only must we now forget that 9/11, 7/7 and similar bombings were fake, but they also want us to think that the only real conspiracies are the ones against Iran, Russia, Hezbollah, Dajjal and Assad. So they expect us to forget about all the real conspiracies and think that the only real ones are the ones against the Shias and Russia.
Wait a minute, this is far more directed and controlled than the mainstream media would like you to believe. That everything is just happenstance and the only conspiracies are the ones that they tell you to believe in. Wait a minute, this is far more directed and controlled than the mainstream media would like you to believe. That everything is just happenstance and the only conspiracies are the ones that they tell you to believe in. Even if the part of you, the truth inside of you, wants to doubt, wants to wonder and question, we're beaten down by them, by the shadows they projected on the wall. Wait a minute, this is far more directed and controlled than the mainstream media would like you to believe. That everything is just happenstance and the only conspiracies are the ones that they tell you to believe in. But it will not escalate into a shooting war. No, God forbid. nuclear bombs might go off. A shooting war, no, God forbid, nuclear bombs might go off. That the Russians are worse. They've never hurt us, they've never done anything to the American people, but we're told they're worse, they're scarier.
Also remember that I made a video series called The Real Truth About Assad in 2015. And the reason why I called it that is that a lot of disinformation videos on YouTube were saying, you know, learn the truth about Assad. And by the truth they meant the alternative media. So they were saying that we have to support Assad. They were saying that the media is against the Shias and we have to support the Shias. So I made a video called The Real Truth About Assad, in order to counter them, to say that basically the people who are saying that they're telling the truth about Assad, they're not telling you the real truth. I'm giving you the real truth about Assad. And interestingly, they have now uploaded videos on YouTube with the same title. Look at this one. It says The Real Truth About Bashar al-Assad. Okay? But on this video, they're again telling you the same alternative media narrative that I was exposing. And yet they gave you the same title as my video. And also, on one of my last videos, I exposed the fake attack against the Iranian parliament. And I said that it was a false flag attack, that it was fake. But notice that they've uploaded a fake video, a fake conspiracy theory, that also says that the attack was a false flag attack. But if you actually watch it, if you actually watch the video, it actually says that the attack was real. And as I said before, I made a video before in 2015 where I explained that the shields, the disinformation agents, are trying to redefine the meaning of false flag. So now false flag means real. They've changed the definition of false flag. False flag now means real flag. So whenever they want to say an attack was real, they call it false flag, in order to confuse the conspiracy researchers. They're actually trying to redefine. And so I made a video called that the Iranian that the attack against the Iranian parliament by ISIS was fake and it was a false flag attack. And my video was of course banned by YouTube. And they give you now this video that says the same thing basically, but the video itself is completely different. It's the opposite. It actually says that it was a real attack, and that America is using ISIS to attack Iran. And so you see, they keep trying to imitate me and yet give you the opposite information. They try to send you towards the opposite direction. So their apparent message seems to be the same thing. They appear to be, you know, saying the same thing as me, but when you go into it and when you listen to the actual video and when you watch the video to the end, it actually leads you in the opposite direction. And yet they try to appear like they are me. They try to appear similar to me. And they're doing the same thing with ISIS. They're doing the same thing with the fake Al-Qaeda, the Nusra Front. They're doing the same thing in Iran as well. They're doing the same thing in so many different places. The fake conspiracy theories everywhere. And now all you got all these people who are copying me, and they've also banned my videos, my entire channel from YouTube. So now all you get are these fakes, or all you get now on YouTube are these people who are trying to just imitate me, but lead you towards shaitan instead. If you want to know why these Freemasons are so obsessed with copying me, watch my video series titled The Soothsayer's Conspiracy Using Arnold Schwarzenegger. And also my other video, which I will upload soon inshallah, The Soothsayer's Conspiracy Using Obama. And in that video I'm going to show how Obama was actually copying Osama. And so it's to do with the fitra. It's to do with the copying the fitra. In fact, on part 6 of that video of the Soothsayer's Conspiracy Using Arnold Schwarzenegger, I talked about the green dome and its connection to the skull and bones. And a few days later, ISIS released a video where they displayed the symbols of the skull and the green dome next to each other. So not a few days later, a few weeks later, they released that video. And interestingly, as soon as I uploaded that video, when I mentioned this, that ISIS is copying me, as soon as I uploaded it on YouTube, YouTube removed it. YouTube removed the video, and they claimed that the video was too violent, even though there wasn't any violence on the video. I was just showing the showing what ISIS had displayed of the weapons of Bashar Assad. There are numerous violent videos about Syria on YouTube, yet they immediately removed my video supposedly because it was violent, but they really removed it because I was showing that ISIS was copying me. That was the real reason why they removed it, because it was obvious that they were copying me. Because right after I talked about the Green Dome and the Skull and Bones, they released a video about the Green Dome and the Skull and Bones. There are many other such examples which I've mentioned on my past videos, and I also said that the Illuminati and the Taoists are merging together. So it's interesting that YouTube helped the agenda of both the Taoist ISIS and the Illuminati Nusra Front by removing my channel during the same time when the Nusra Front changed their name to HTS and started calling themselves zakah1 on many websites. And also as ISIS started to have their members look more and more like me, and they also claim to have attacked Iran, so I kept making videos against Iran, and so they released a fake video of themselves attacking Iran. And as soon as I made a video exposing that their attacks against Iran were fake, my YouTube channel was removed. And so the removal of my YouTube channel benefited both the Nusra Front and ISIS. It benefited both the Zionist Illuminati and the Taoists, and of course the Kuffar in general. So you see, after they failed to deceive me, the Taoists decided to just censor me, and they have now changed their own ideology and they have merged with the Zionist Illuminati. And I believe this is why, for example, Alex Jones now supports Israel and even uses Zionist symbolism on his videos. And that's why Gaddafi's son was released from prison by the Zionist NATO and Iran, who had arrested him several years ago. And that's also why the Taoist Infowars supports the Zionist Donald Trump. And that's also why the Taoists ISIS took responsibility for the fake attack against the Zionist government of Iran. And that's also why the Taoist ISIS retreated from many important areas in Syria, and they handed over those areas to Russia, Iran and America. And that's also why they agreed to finally remove my channel from YouTube after years of the Zionists begging them to do so.
لم يتبقى لداعش سوى الفتات، فالتنظيم فقد 80% من حدود دولته المزعومة بتلقيه ضربات موجعة في سوريا والعراق. بداية يناير 2015 كان لداعش اليد الطولى في منطقة تمتد من الموصل شرقا في الجانب الذي قامت عليه دولته المزعومة عبر مسح الخط الحدودي بين سوريا والعراق شمالا. وخلال شهر سبتمبر الجاري بات نفوذ داعش يقتصر على مناطق مترامية في البلدين من ناحية وغير مرتبطة ببعضها.
In fact, let me tell you that for years the Zionist Viacom company made false copyright claims on my videos. But YouTube used to refuse to accept their phony claims. But now, all of a sudden, my entire channel was removed. And they didn't even give me a good reason. They told me that one of my videos had violated a law, a rule, a YouTube rule. And they said that if you get 2 more strikes, we will remove your channel. But the next day, they removed my entire channel. The next day, after they gave me this warning, they removed my entire channel without getting 3 strikes, even though they themselves said that I have to get 3 strikes for my channel to be removed. So obviously, they just wanted to remove my channel completely. So they wouldn't accept Viacom's complaints for years, but then all of a sudden, they just removed all my videos.
people, and they are a way of basically influencing society.
That's right.
So if you to conduct yourself within the movie industry, within the media, generally speaking, even among the news, you can't talk bad about the President of the United States and make a mockery of what Americana stands for. If you do that, you are not welcome in this country any longer. And he has to be very tough. He has, at this point, I know that it might sound out of a despotic movie, but unfortunately, some of the choices that he might have to do will be to really implement a very tough stand on these people. No, but you don't understand. There is a flag, there is America, we are in war. You can't do that.
Right.
It's forbidden. You prohibit it.
What?
You go and visit their houses in the middle of the night and you do it in an anti-democratic way. I'm sorry to say, guys, that if you want to destroy America and what it stands for since 1776, at this point you need to be completely stopped. And that means also arresting people. No, here we're talking about either you want to save America or you want to transform it in the caliphate, because then it's a different style.
Because that's what you see coming. And you
also remember that shortly before they did this, they removed my comment on YouTube where I predicted Trump's presidency at least 7 months before he was elected. And I think one of the main things that angered them about my videos was that the video series titled How the Illuminati Made Trump President. I think that was the one that was the main thing that was one of the main videos that angered them, because on that video I exposed many shills or disinformation agents on YouTube, and interestingly, many of those shill channels, those disinformation channels that I exposed, were removed at around the same time that my channel was removed. Some of them were removed shortly before, and some of them were removed shortly after my channel was banned. And even though the Russian Vids channel is still on YouTube to this day, he hasn't made any new videos ever since my channel was removed. And now that you have videos on YouTube saying that, you know, why did they censor and ban Russian Vids? You're similar to me. You know how there's videos that are saying why was zakah1 banned. There are also now similar videos saying why was Russian Vids banned, even though the Russian Vids channel is still on YouTube to this day. He just doesn't upload any new videos. So it's, as I said, they always like to copy and resemble me in some way. Remember that on that video I said that these shills are copying real conspiracy researchers, especially me, and their job is to try to discredit us and divert our attention in the wrong direction. I'm talking, of course, about the new shills, the new disinformation agents who appeared since 2014. And these new shills actually speak much more truth than the old ones do. And remember that back about 4 years ago, they used to say that Obama is changing George Bush's policy towards Russia. They were saying that Bush was anti-Russia and that Obama was bringing America closer to Russia. And they used to say that Bush was going to attack Iran and that Obama stopped him from attacking Iran. But now they reversed it and they're saying that no, Obama wants to attack Iran. They always say this right as the presidency is about to come to an end. So as the presidency of Obama is coming to an end, they're saying that Obama was just about to invade Syria and he was about to attack Iran and Russia. He was about to start World War III against Russia. But right as he was trying to do this, all of a sudden Trump became the president. As if, I mean, think about this. Obama could only be president for 2 terms. So if he wanted to start World War III against Russia or Iran or Syria, then against Assad or against Khamenei in Iran, against Hassan Rouhani or Vladimir Putin, then he had 8 years to do this. Why did he have to start doing this right at the end of his presidency? Same thing with George Bush. Why did George Bush just have to, decide to invade Iran near the end of his presidency? And they told us that the reason why George Bush didn't attack Iran was that his presidency came to an end and Obama became president, the peace president Obama. You know, he was portrayed as the peace president. They said that he stopped George Bush's plans to attack Iran and, you know, the whole Shia-Russian alliance. But now they're saying that no, the Republicans stopped the Democrats, even though before they used to say that the Democrats are the peace party and they stopped the Republicans who are the war party. But now they reversed it after 8 years, and many of you who have a very horrible memory can't remember. But just go and check the news back then. Just go and check even their own official narrative, their own official news. They kept saying that George Bush was going to invade Iran. And they said that because Obama became president, he stopped George Bush. And they say that Obama has secret meetings with Vladimir Putin, that he's secretly on their side. But now they're saying that no, it's Trump who is on the side of Russia, and Obama was going to attack them.
With Ukraine and Putin invading Crimea, the Obama administration punched them in the face with sanctions. And
the Obama administration punched them in the face with sanctions. Now, for all the liberals out there that have a very short attention span, let's take a look at this footage with RT from a few years back.
My last election, yeah, and after my election, I have more flexibility. Yeah, I understand. I transmit this information to Vladimir and understand it.
So you have Obama here going back to 2012 talking about, you know, before his election where he knows he's going to be basically selected and remaining as president. He's going to have Dmitry Medvedev translate to Vladimir Putin, you know, his message. And of course, supposedly hot mic. There's no translator in the back. They're both speaking English, of course. 100% scripted, 100% staged. So we're all the liberals talking about this. They're talking again about this controversy, you know, supposedly again with Russia helping, you know, Trump win the elections. And again, the liberals forget about this. Bottom line, it doesn't really matter. You know, if you're on the left side or the right side, you're on the wrong side. You got to go down the straight and narrow and understand both sides are equally deceived. Former senior advisor for the Trump campaign, because Woolsey is 33. See how this is nothing more than a Masonic freak show taking place on the world stage. And again, getting back to the whole debate with these liberals stuck on the whole concept of Obama stopping, you know, with Russia, with these sanctions, and then going back in time. You know, again, people have the attention span of a flea and don't realize the world's a stage. And they don't recall this, they don't remember this. Of course not. They have selected memory. People need to get off this whole idea of the left and right once again.
I said that these new shields are only here because I exposed the old shields, such as Webster Tarpley and George Galloway and those people. And you see, I exposed all the old shields on my video titled the Subliminal Messages on WWF and WCW. And the reason they give us so much more truth on the new shield videos is because they want us to trust them as the real thing. And that's why the real shields actually appear more genuine. They appear more honest. So you see, when they decided to censor me, there was no longer a need for them to be on YouTube, since they were there to copy me in the first place and to convince people to believe in their fake conspiracy theories, such as the skull and bones and the earth being flat, or the chemical attacks in Syria against the Sunnis being fake. So when I exposed their agenda on several of my videos, these shills actually wrote comments on my channel for the very first time. You know, for 9 years, they were all ignoring me, but for the first time they actually started commenting on my channel, trying to convince me to stop exposing them. Both Russian vids and How I See the World commented on my channel, even though they completely ignored me in the past. And when they couldn't convince me to remove my videos where I was talking about them, I think that they committed kamikaze. In other words, they destroyed themselves and they tried to destroy me at the same time, like the ending of the Tron movie. And as I said, that whole Tron movie was based on the Taoist Freemasonic philosophy. So to put it simply, after the Taoists failed to manipulate us into thinking the way they want and accepting their so-called reality or realities, they came to the conclusion that the Illuminati are right and that censorship is the only way to fight against the light of truth. Also remember that one of the last things I said on YouTube just before they censored me was, you see, this is the Illuminati's idea of freedom of speech. It's the freedom to lie, not the freedom to tell the truth. It's okay for them to lie about you and to lie to you and to deceive you and to manipulate you. But if you tell the truth about them, then that makes you a horrible person and you need to be censored. They are enemies of the truth, Al-Haq, which is one of the names of Allah in the Quran.
In Syria on this Monday, the 31st of July. In the past month, the city of Idlib and the liberated territories have been experiencing a wave of attacks from ISIS bombers. We have brought you stories on the attack of a school, an HTS position, or Hayat Tahrir Sham, and the attempted assassination outside of a mosque of religious scholar Dr. Abdullah Muhaisini. OGN has obtained an exclusive recording of an ISIS operative communicating with the commander in preparation for the attempted assassination.
What's the matter, Tommy? Something look familiar? Come on, let's see what you got.
No one can ever take them down. The power lies on their side. Go, go, Power Rangers!
Collected a lock of hair from Tommy. Tommy, you okay? The Wizard of Deception used his hair to create a second Tommy to betray the Power.
You shall follow all of my commands.
I'm here to serve you, Wizard of Deception. Hello, Tommy. Allow me to introduce myself. What's going on? Who are you? I'm the Green Ranger.
Behind the destruction of his precious Power Rangers.
As you wish, Master.
Energize yourself with evil, Dragonzord. Energize yourself with evil! Green Ranger, there's someone I want you to meet.
After I defeat you, I'll be happy to take your place.
What's the matter, Tommy? Something look familiar? Come on, let's see what you got. Here it goes.